What is the greater good? What is the common good? What does "we're all in this together" actually mean? This is a term that has been spouted for the last 2 years or so, and we've been watching this growing collectivism evolve, as well as what seems to be an ideological divide between individual rights, classical liberal values, and a collective ideology that subjugates the individual for the needs of the collective. One of the central ideas to collectivism is the greater good. How is it practiced? How do we achieve the outcomes desired for the happiness or the well-being of all of society as a totality or as a collective? Does this mean we're looking for the happiness of individuals? Does this mean that some individuals will be sacrificed for this greater good? This is a tricky concept and one that sounds like a good thing. Greater good. The words themselves have positive meaning, positive connotation, and therefore when we hear things like "we're all in this together" and we're working towards a common goal and purpose, the flowery language causes us to think that this is a wonderful thing and that if we're not part of it, there might be something wrong with us.
The COVID experience was worse in some places than in others, but no matter where we were in the world, we were all impacted. One of the most important lessons I've learned from COVID and High School Musical is that we're all in this together. I just wish everyone would get this.
This is a kind of verbal trickery that's employed in order to subjugate the individual to the goals of a central planning authority, which supposes that it can understand the good of a collective, or at least uses these kinds of words to unroll its social program. Barry Brownstein, in his latest piece for AIER, explores this concept, as well as many interrelated notions, by untangling the famous book by Friedrich Hayek called The Road to Serfdom. So what we're going to do today is really zone in on what the greater good is, using the text of Barry Brownstein, where he's exploring the Hayekian concept of the greater good. So let's see what Barry has to say about this. There is no common good. Hayek explains, the various kinds of collectivism, communism, fascism, etc., differ from among themselves in the nature of the goal toward which they want to direct the efforts of society. Yet here is where all the systems are the same. They all differ from liberalism and individualism in wanting to organize the whole of society and all its resources for this unitary end, and in refusing to recognize autonomous spheres in which the ends of the individuals are supreme. Barry writes, the delusion of collectivists is that their coercive plans will benefit all. Hayek observes that even well-meaning people ask, if it be necessary to achieve important ends, why shouldn't the system be run by decent people for the good of the community as a whole?
The entire global scientific community is working together to beat this thing, and we're using science to help make it happen. Because when science wins, we all win.
In one of his most famous passages, Hayek succinctly explains why there is no such thing as the common good. The social goal, or common purpose for which society is to be organized, is usually vaguely described as the common good, the general welfare, or the general interest. It does not need much reflection to see that these terms have no sufficiently definite meaning to determine a particular course of action. The welfare and the happiness of millions cannot be measured on a single scale of less and more. The welfare of a people, like the happiness of a man, depends on a great many things that can be provided in an infinite variety of combinations. It cannot be adequately expressed as a single end, but only as a hierarchy of ends, a comprehensive scale of values in which every need of every person is given its place. To direct all our activities according to a single plan presupposes that every one of our needs is given its rank in an order of values which must be complete enough to make it possible to decide among all the different courses which the planner has to choose. It presupposes, in short, the existence of a complete ethical code in which all the different human values are allotted their due place. So let's untangle that for a second. Hayek is pointing out here that by trying to centrally plan society around a common goal to achieve great outcomes for the many requires the subjugation of the individual, because there is no one common goal that unites every single individual. We all have our different ideas of happiness, and our combination of happiness, meaning, purpose, well-being in our lives varies by an infinite combination of factors. So Barry goes on to write, politicians invoke the common good to hide that they have no justification for imposing their values on others. Their deception is effective. Well-meaning people adopt the belief that only an evil person would oppose the common good.
Experts warned that if everyone just wore masks, they would be able to prevent 130,000 more people from dying by February. Many wore masks, but some didn't, because of their own individual freedom. As a result of this selfishness, more than 500,000 people died by February.
So this is where we kind of get into modern day tribalism. You have this slogan, we're all in this together, and everybody believes that there's good outcomes attached to this slogan. And therefore, if you are not part of it, then there must be something wrong with you. You might even be evil. Barry goes on to give a couple of modern day examples about how the common good is being applied, and then writes that the bottom line is that there is no such thing as a common good that is achieved by lockdowns and mandates. Lost jobs, lost lives via suicide, lost livelihoods, growing mental health issues, and lives saved cannot be weighed on a single scale of less and more. In short, as professor of psychiatry Dr. Aaron Carrieti writes, citizens are no longer viewed as persons with inherent dignity, but as fungible elements of an undifferentiated mass to be shaped by supposedly benevolent health and safety experts. In summing up, Barry writes, there is no one ethical code we all share, yet politicians and bureaucrats use the coercive power of government to force compliance with their plans.
And I think it is not just related to science, it's almost related to authority and a mistrust in authority that spills over, because in some respects, scientists, because they're trying to present data, may be looked upon as being authoritative figure. And the pushing back on authority is pushing back on government, is the same as pushing back on science.
We believe science can cure every human disease, and we're going all in. Because in the end, science will win.
Superhero shot, helping everybody.
Fight coronavirus and help others.
You're helping the whole entire world.
Thank you. You are all superheroes.
Thank you!
Thank you, superheroes. Thank you. You're awesome.
My hope as a global citizen is that with all the missed recess due to the pandemic, we will actually learn something that will help us tackle global issues in the future, that we're all in this together. Thank you.
Before destructive ideas that lead to totalitarianism can command widespread acceptance, tyrants must unite the population around a common us versus them, enemy. You can make a stand against this tactic today. As you go about your day, strive to see the common humanity in all. With liberty, everyone is a potential friend. Today, make no friend an enemy. To read Barry Brownstein's full piece, visit AIER.org.